Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a real cultural moment from the early 2000s, Twilight. This was more than just books, right? It was this massive YA sensation that kind of made vampires, well, cool, but also really confusing and deeply emotionally unavailable, according to our guide today.
That's right. Yeah, our guide for this is The Recap Room, Twilight Deconstructed. And it gives us a really interesting way to look at why this whole thing, this chaotic hormonal fever dream, as they call it, grabs so many people. You know, despite all the weirdness, we're going to try and figure out its legacy, even the bits that make you cringe a little now.
Okay, yeah, let's get into that. The Recap Room doesn't pull any punches right from the start, like Bella Swan. They call her a human cardboard cutout with brown hair and zero sense of self-preservation.
Harsh but memorable.
Totally. And then there's Edward Cullen, the vampire, who's like forever 17. The source says he looks like he's constantly smelling something weird. So how do these descriptions right off the bat sort of set up the series' strange appeal?
Well, it's funny because those descriptions, even though they sound pretty critical, actually became kind of central to it all. The Recap Room suggests that Bella, being a bit of a blank slate, might be why she was so easy for readers to project onto.
Right.
You know?
Oh, okay. Like an empty vessel.
Sort of, yeah. And Edward, well, despite the weird sniffing and everything, he had this intense, maybe even dangerous vibe that a lot of people found totally captivating. Our source really digs into this immediate, almost nonsensical connection they have. He literally tells her he wants to, well, eat her.
Right. Not exactly typical first date chat.
Not at all. And her reaction is basically, okay, so when do we start dating? That reaction, that dynamic, pretty much sets the tone for the entire series. It's foundational.
Wow. Yeah, quite the beginning. And it's not just the characters the source zeroes in on, it's the writing style, too. They call it passionate, like really passionate.
Yeah.
Every single look, every sigh, every, awkward silence gets treated like it's high drama, like Shakespeare or something.
And the descriptions, Edward is marble or perfect.
Yeah.
So many times.
The source jokes it might be more than any other word in the book.
It feels like it sometimes.
Yeah.
And Bella, her main thing seems to be biting her lip.
Constantly, like all the time. That and just being generally helpless.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And this ties directly into the romance, or as the Recap Room brilliantly puts it, whatever you call a relationship that's 50% intense staring and 50% life-threatening tension.
Slight chuckle. That's good.
It is. And the source isn't afraid to point out the stuff that seems, well, problematic now. Edward watching Bella sleep, breaking into her room, following her. It's all framed as super romantic back then.
Yeah, a bit creepy in hindsight.
Definitely. The source even jokes, honestly, someone get this girl a hobby that isn't falling in love with predators. But that intensity, that slightly unsettling devotion, that was the hook. It really shaped how a lot of people thought about romance for a while.
That quote is just perfect, though. It captures that weird intensity that sucks so many people in, even if, looking back now feels a bit awkward. So, okay, what's the big picture takeaway here? What does the Recap Room conclude about Twilight overall?
Well, they're very clear. Is Twilight a masterpiece? Not even close. But, and this is key, but is it entertaining? Oh, absolutely.
So it's got that going for it.
Exactly. They call it a chaotic hormonal fever dream, and honestly, it's hard to look away. It taps into something, Yeah. This isn't just about tearing it down. The Recap Room gets at this basic human thing where we're just drawn to heightened drama, even if it's flawed or kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
The intensity, the absurdity, the constant emotional roller coaster, it makes it weirdly compelling.
You just can't stop watching.
Right. The source sums it up perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like a literary equivalent of watching a train wreck
Yeah.
on a glitter-covered track. You don't root for it, but you can't stop watching.
That nails it, that weird contradictory appeal. So maybe if you've been wanting to, revisit your own teenage cringe phase.
Or finally figure out why everyone was arguing about sparkly vampires versus moody werewolves back in 2008.
Then hopefully this deep dive has given you some insight.
Yeah. And ultimately, the Recap Room suggests maybe just, don't take it all too seriously. Because, and this is the final punchline from them, it definitely doesn't take you seriously.
Which does leave you with a pretty interesting thought, doesn't it?
Which is?
Well, what does it actually say about us, about human nature and what we find entertaining? That we get so pulled into these stories we ourselves describe as, like, train wrecks or fever dreams. Why can we look away, even or maybe because they're so creaky and flawed? Something for you to think about.